What's up, YouTube? Fast FZ09 here. I've noticed a lot of guys on a lot of the FZ09 forums, and just YouTube chatter on other people's channels talking about, and in magazine tests I've read it too, talking about the stock suspension on the 2014 FZ09 is like complete shit. The Yamaha cut a lot of corners with the bike and put a lot of the emphasis in the motor and the chassis, and just kind of had bottom rate suspension on the bike from the factory. And I mean, there's a lot of truth in that. It's adjustable suspension from the factory. It's KYB suspension. It's adjustable front and rear. But I mean, yeah, it's not going to be the quality that say like an Öhlins front internals kit would be, or Öhlins rear shock, or Penske, or JRI shocks, or anything like that. But for a stock motorcycle, the suspension honestly is not as bad as what it's portrayed on the internet. Just for some reference points, they say that the stock suspension is set up for a rider that weighs around 170 pounds. I'm not a huge guy by any stretch, but I'm 6'2", well 6'1", 6'2", something like that, and I weigh 208 pounds. So with leathers on, I'm probably at least pushing 220 with all my gear on. But what we did is we adjusted my suspension to the Sport Rider magazine test spec. Sport Rider magazine, for years, when new bikes are released, they'll have different editors from the magazine. Different test riders come in. All riders have different abilities, different weights, different skill levels, and they'll test ride the motorcycle and come up with a collective recommended suspension setting for that particular bike. And so we looked it up in the archives for the FZ09, the suspension settings that they came up with, and we just adjusted my bike to that. And you can see here on the front forks, stock. Obviously, the tubes were slid way farther up, a lot higher up, probably that much compared to what they're set at now. I think my bike is set up, if I remember right, 1 click out from full stiff in the front, and then the rear is 2 clicks out from full stiff. But anyway, I've adapted to it, and I mean, at first I kind of bought into the hype and thought, damn, this suspension is shit. And then I adjusted it to the Sport Rider specs, rode it, and I'm actually happy with it. And I'd already even priced out some aftermarket suspension for this bike. I know through Stoltec Moto, they offer 2 options, well 3 options. You can get a Penske pretty standard shock for it, which is around $600 or $700. Öhlins offers the same, more or less, shock for that price range. Then you can also get through Stoltec Moto. You can get, or I've seen on their website, you can see they offer Penske double clickers and Penske triple clickers. I had a fully prepped AMA GSXR 1000 years ago that bike had full Penske front internals as well as a Penske triple clicker. So the Penske suspension is phenomenal. So same with Öhlins, but it's just a lot of money, and I honestly don't think, unless that you're, if there was like an FZ09 class that you could race and wear, or CCS or AMA, then maybe, yeah, I could justify spending, anywhere from $1,200 to $2,000 on suspension for this bike. But I just don't think you need it. And for those of you guys that have not ridden the bike, with the suspension settings adjusted, even though the stock internals, at least ride it with the try the Sport Rider mag specs and see what you think. But some of the guys on there too that I've seen put posts up, they talk about the front end diving, and it's true. The front end is going to dive a little bit, but that's true on any bike. And I think a lot of times that the guys that have the opinions about the front end on the FZ09 is too soft, it dives under front braking, all bikes are going to do that. And I think more of it comes down to braking technique than it does the suspension. A lot of guys, you see a lot of guys riding, they're going through a corner, and even past the apex, they're still kind of dabbing at the front brake. And if you're stabbing at the front brake, the front end is going to dive. You want to get all your braking done prior to the apex, and then from the apex out, shift all your weight to the rear tire to get drive grip to push you out of the corner. But anyway, that's just my opinion. And form your own, or if you get a chance to ride one set to the Sport Rider magazine test spec. I had really good results with it, and just sharing my thoughts on it. So yeah, I'd love to hear back from you guys. So anyway, check it out. Let me know what you think. Thanks.